What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. DMZ missions are where it's at, and specifically today we are looking at a mission called Grenade Supplier, which is for the White Lotus faction in DMZ. Now basically this mission tasks you with extracting or dead dropping several different lethal equipment types. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at each one of these different types and essentially what you have to do with them, where you have to take them, what's the easiest way to get them, and hopefully we can get you done with this mission in as few drops as possible and with at least as possible hassle. Now, of course, the reason why I mentioned multiple drops is because if you aim to do this solo, like I did it, most likely you will not be able to accomplish all of these objectives in one deployment. So let's split them up across multiple deployments, and that way we can make sure that we hit each one of these lines individually, and we can make sure that we get this done as fast and as efficient as possible. So first up, and starting from the bottom, 13 frag grenades essentially means that you need 6 stacks of 2 in your backpack, and then you can be carrying one on you, giving you a grand total of 13 frag grenades. And you actually need to extract all of these in one deployment, which means climbing onto an extraction chopper while carrying 13 frag grenades. Now, that is a pretty tall ask, and it does mean that you need to have a bigger than the normal starting backpack. So that would be the first thing that you need to look into, is having enough space in your backpack to be able to carry all of this. And then secondly, the fastest way to essentially assemble all of these grenades so you can extract them can essentially come from 2 different places. First of all, most enemies, as you kill them, will often drop 2 of these grenades as part of their dead loot. So you'll get a gun, maybe a plate, and sometimes 2 frag grenades. So keep an eye on the loot that falls out of the enemies as you kill them. Maybe pick an area of the map that's kind of like to the outskirts, farm a couple of the low level enemies, and hopefully get some of these grenades to drop. But of course, the other way and the more dependable way of doing this is through the use of munitions boxes. So when you drop into the mission, make sure that your chosen lethal is frag grenades, which means you're already going to start with some, and then make sure that your deployable equipment is a munitions box. So that's already going to get you refill on one. Then just farm a couple of bots, maybe do one mission, something like that, work up a little bit of cash, take yourself to a buy box and buy yourself multiple munitions boxes. And then essentially just rinse repeat these frag grenades into your inventory by having 2 on your lethal stack, stowing that into your backpack, dropping your munitions box, looting it, getting 2 frag grenades back into your main character inventory, stowing those grenades back into your backpack, and you get the point. I'm not going to say that 7 times. So you get the idea of what you have to do. Stack all of those into your inventory. Like I said, 6 stacks into your backpack, and then 1 more extra one or 2 if you want to be sure on your character, and you're good to go. Make your way to the nearest extraction, get those grenades out of there, and that's the frag grenades done. Next up, we have thermite grenades, and this is probably the easiest one of the 3 steps to complete for several reasons, not limiting to the fact that we only need 5 of these thermite grenades. So by just carrying some thermites into you with a deployment and carrying 1 munitions box, you essentially already have half of the amount of thermite grenades needed. You can simply just either get another munitions box from a buy box and simply replenish that way, just like we did with the frag grenades, and you've got your number that you need. But you could also be picking these up from areas. These unfortunately do not drop as regularly from enemies, so you're not going to be able to depend on killed enemies like you did with frag grenades, but that's also why we need far less of these. So I think the simplest would be just to make a little bit of money, go buy the munitions boxes and just get it refilled that way. Now these you don't actually have to extract. You can simply take them to the dead drop location in Al Mazrah City, and you can drop those 5 in there, and that'll get you done with the second part. I do want to mention at this point that this dead drop location in Al Mazrah City is one of the better known ones, aka also one of the more camped ones. So absolutely keep an eye out for that. Definitely scout out the area. Players like to sit in the little alley next to the dead drop and wait for players to run up and interact with the box, as well as sitting on the buildings right adjacent to it, which gives them a fair vantage point over the area. So maybe come in there with a scope or something like that. Take a little bit of additional time just to be sure nobody's going to jump down your throat before you go deposit your loot and accidentally lose your progress. Last but not least, but also the first one on the list, since we started from the bottom and worked our way up, is any combination of 7 bouncing betties or claymores. So 5 of the one and 2 of the other, 3 of the one and 4 of the other, whatever. It's dealer's choice, but exactly the same as what we did with the thermites. If you start with some of these lethals in a deployment already with a munitions box, you are that much closer to the 7 that are required. These often, especially bouncing betties, spawn in boxes that you loot in the environment, so it isn't going to be too difficult to find some of these. So it is possible that you could also potentially knock this one out with the thermite step of this mission, but I'll leave that up to you. Sometimes it's a little bit less stressful to combine these and just essentially do them across 3 deployments so you don't run into time pressure or anything like that. But nonetheless, these also need to go to a dead drop. You don't extract the mission with them in your inventory, you have to go drop them off. Now, the place where you drop them off is different to the thermite location, and this is actually the Rohan oil dead drop, which for some reason people don't know all that well. It's very strange to me, but essentially it sits over here on the map, and it's kind of like on your way to Rohan oil from the south of the map, kind of like skew away across the service station here. So just next to these buildings here, you have the dead drop location. Be careful, players often camp this area, especially the high grounds, shooting at players that try to come to that service station to refuel their cars or essentially get some repair on their vehicles. That, coupled with the fact that Rohan oil itself attracts a huge amount of attention, with players often trying to capture that SAM site or capture that UAV tower, this area can get quite congested. So either coming on foot with a little bit of the sneaky sneak and make sure that you don't get seen, or if you're coming in hot with a vehicle, absolutely just blast through the area, jump out, throw your shit in the box, jump back in the car and roll out. And that's going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. If you do all of these steps, you'll be done with this mission in no time. You'll have all of the required lethals deposited, extracted, and taken care of, and we can move on to the next missions. Keep an eye on the channel for more videos to come on everything that is around DMZ, especially missions and all of that. But feel free to let me know in the comments down below if you've checked the channel, there's a specific mission that you're looking for and I haven't covered it yet. I'll either bump it to the top or I'll add it to the list, but either which way, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, and evening wherever you are in the world. And until next video, fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me.